only told you that I think I told you there's only six first law books, but there's the original trilogy which you're reading. Then there's three standalones, and then there's like another three on top of that. So really,
Oh,
there's nine.
like the Nazgul.
Yeah, and on top of the nine books, there's actually a ton of short stories as well. So he's made like just a ton of work in this universe.
Shadow's face. No.
Where are you in the third book?
Let's see. I haven't read a lot lately, so I'm just still like skimming the surface of it.
Oh, I gotcha. That makes sense. If if you ever need help with anything, you can just direct message me and I can jump on the ticket usually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not easy being like a new supervisor.
Yeah. Um, there's like I didn't message you about this last one because I didn't know when I was going to be free.
Mm.
But it ended up going to, I think, Tamiya anyways, and I didn't realize the right word for the system that I needed new hire in.
Hmm.
But uh,
Hmm. How how is it so far being like um being a supervisor? How do you like it?
I mean, honestly, I like really haven't been it yet. Uh, I still don't have access to like their time clocks and PTO and stuff like that.
Mm.
HR's just been like dragging their feet, or they think they've done it and it's not done correctly. Um,
Oh geez.
yeah,
I think
so like it's all right. Like I've been doing fairly well, and I enjoy training people, but it's still not like implemented fully.
yeah. Yeah. I noticed you grabbed Kevin for supplies to train him.
Yeah,
So you must
so
he must be good then.
yeah, he is good. He's got a good head on his shoulders.
Mm.
And some he can't really take over in the role until I replace him on phones
Oh,
because there just wouldn't be enough team members.
right.
So like I'm still doing it all
Oh
and will
geez.
be until like the end of March.
Yeah. I bet you go through like 20 cigarettes a day just to try to like calm down.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But luckily this is the one of the like slowest parts of the year specifically for
Hmm.
that position.
Hmm.
Um just woke up from my nap. Um
I'm super tired too. Like daylight savings time messed me up.
yeah, it threw me off too.
Yeah. I feel weird.
Yeah, it's just been frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How do
also
you
Calvin being out today and yesterday has been hard. Um,
Yeah.
just because I'm onboarding this new hire, which I've never done before. I'm great at
Yeah.
training, um, but like onboarding is not the same as training.
Yeah.
Um, so like I really haven't had anybody to go to with questions because like I'm not going to Ashley with any questions.
Right.
just
Right.
because like I don't want to give her anything that makes it seem like she's more than the position she's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like she's the only person that I could realistically like ask onboarding questions to. So I've
Yeah.
just been struggling
And
through it myself.
yeah. With Garrett Chocolate.
Hmm.
When you
But
when you said that,
he's
oh, go
smart.
ahead.
He's going to do well.
Of course. Garrett Chocolate can't be a bad employee.
Mm-mm. His name is Cecil Garrett Chocolate the Third.
Yeah. Wait, is the third real?
I
You
think
didn't
so.
have that? Oh my God. I love it. At first I thought you were joking, but then I saw the last name and I was like, oh, it really is Chocolate.
Hmm.
I love it.
It's true. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Thomas, we're both so tired because of
My
daylight savings time.
my nap was so good.
Oh man.
Now I'm not napping anymore. I gotta yawn and get with the real world.
The worst. Have you have you been playing Helldivers to kind of like relax from the stress of being a supervisor?
I've been playing Child of Light to relax from the stress of being a supervisor. It would
Oh.
be less stressful if I was actually the supervisor.
Mm. Mm.
It's it's so frustrating. Like that time clock thing. So I was like messaging Calvin all last week, and I'm like, hey, like I still don't have access. Like, are you going to do this? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he didn't do it. And I'm like, the only thing these people care about, the only thing is getting fucking paid.
Oh
So,
no.
you know what I mean? Like, as far as the hotline
Yeah.
team goes, they have one concern, that's getting paid correctly. But they can't
Yeah.
manage to clock in and clock out correctly because they're too fucking stupid.
Oh
So, like,
no. Oh
all of their
no.
times are messed up, and it's just like, I really wish you had the thing you said you would do. And
Yeah.
like, it's not like a big deal, but it's like, you're like, you just undermined me. Like, the first thing you did, like, for me
Hmm.
in this role is undermine me. Like
Yeah.
I told
Yeah.
you and sent emails and was like, hey, like this is one of the most important things I do and I can't do it.
Right.
And he's like, okay,
Right.
well I'll do it. And I was like, cool. And then you didn't do it. And now these people's
Yeah.
time cards are messed up and they're going to be paid
Oof.
incorrectly. And like, and they know it's
God.
not me, like they know it's not malicious and they understand that like things like fall through the cracks. But like the reason I'm in
Right.
this role is because you got tired of that happening, but
Right.
now you're going to allow it to happen anyways. Like it's
Oh,
so
geez.
frustrating.
That makes sense.
Like bash my only advocate. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Right.
Calvin's like he's on my side, so like he's back tomorrow. I'm not gonna like be shitty because like I need him to be on my side, but it just
Yeah.
sucks. There's nothing I can do
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. That happens in our department too, where it'll be like one person knows something or one person can do something, but then they're like insanely busy. Like Christy might know how to do this thing, and it might be she's the only person in like the whole company that knows how to do this thing, but you know, you don't want to bombard a person and like overload them and just be like, oh, help me out, because
Yeah.
that's not right either. So I I try to not contact her more than like once a day, and I usually do it for like 2 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I will leave you alone the rest of the time.
I got my
You
time.
know? Yeah. I mentally log it because I feel like if I don't, like it just it feels wrong to like do that to a friend, be like ask him 5 times, for different stuff. So hmm.
Yeah, and like
uh
so like I keep having to remind myself it's like I'm good at my job. I can
you
only
are.
be as good as Novatech allows me to be.
Right,
Like, and I
right,
can only care as much as my manager cares.
right, right.
Like, it's not. It's like not effective or healthy to like care more than that. And
Yeah.
it's not that he doesn't care, it's but like, I can only hold so much of the sand with my hands. Like
Right.
some's going to fall through the fingers, and I have to be okay with that because it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like woe is me or anything. I've been able to keep up and do what's necessary, but it has just been frustrating.
Yeah. I can tell it really goes against your personality to kind of just be like, oh, it is what it is. Like I feel like you're very fastidious. Like,
Oh yeah, I hate that shit. I love when things run well. That's why I prefer to be in charge because I'll run it
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Like good example, another thing about like being out of the time clock. Somebody like wasn't in this morning, and I messaged them, and I was like, "Hey, are you not in today?" Um,
yeah,
and he's like, "Oh yeah, I let Ashley know," and I was like, "First off, you're a fucking idiot. She's not your supervisor anymore. You know that."
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but also, if I had the time clock access, I would have seen his request off, and I would have known. Like, like there's so many things that factor into it. But
I think
at the
I
end of
know
the
who.
day, it's not that big a deal because it can't be because it's not a big deal to other people. So
Right. I bet it wasn't Kevin.
no,
I bet it wasn't Garrett Chocolate.
no, it wasn't.
I know who did it because you said it was a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, poor
And
guy.
like I can only be okay with like being like meh so much because the work stops with me. Like if the team doesn't
Right,
have enough people, I'm the one that has to fill in and work harder and do more. So
right.
like all of that lack of preparation like is more work for me, and that's what's frustrating about it. Because
Yeah,
like I was already planning to go to Calvin and be like, hey, I'm overworked. Like we got to do something else. And
yeah,
like, and I get that the solution was more work for me initially. Like I understand like I have to make that investment to get the promotion and be seen. Like I understand that and I'm fine with it. But
yeah.
it sucks when like that more work becomes even more work because of a lack of
Communication or
communication or
people
or
not caring.
foresight. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not all Calvin. Like he put in the tickets to get me that stuff. It's HR dragging their feet. I can't blame him for that.
yeah.
It's like we entered these tickets a week and a half ago. Here we are.
Oh man. Oh
Like, I
no.
wish it wasn't that way, but it is. So.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Well, I think you'll rise to the occasion. I think you probably need someone to vent to and someone to talk to and just be like, yeah, this, and this is happening, just so you feel heard, because if you haven't worked at Novatech, I don't think people would get it. Like they can't understand the dysfunction. But
Oh
if you
yeah,
have,
that's for every role too. Like only people who
yeah,
have been in it or tangent to it can really appreciate like what its
yep,
specific hell looks like. Like
yeah,
sometimes Justin will show me a spreadsheet and he's like, "There's so much," and I'm like, "Glad I don't do that." Like, I
yeah,
don't want to do
yeah,
that.
right, right. Hmm, interesting. I really liked the art style in Child of Light.
Like it too. There's it like is just before the line of creepy and unsettling at all times.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm,
so well done. Like that's a hard line to consistently
yeah,
toe and not pass over. And they
yeah,
do such a good job for it. Um, like Rubella, the jester. I may
mhm,
have already talked about this, but her
mm,
silhouette looks monstrous and like a monster like frumping over. And like until you look at her face and see that she's like this cute jester, like just something about the silhouette like makes your mind's like yell like, oh, that's an evil character. And then you like look at her face and you're like, oh, she's cute and smiling. But like the way it's all like hunched, it looks like it should be so much more than it is. And it's such a subtle
oh,
thing. But
yeah,
there's a lot of little things like that in the game. Like actually the way the art kind of undulates and certain things in the background will just move slightly, uh, gives it a sense of it like a being alive.
Hmm.
Yeah, Time of Light's great stuff. And I love its turn-based combat too, the way you use your firefly to like interact with the speeds of the enemy is extremely clever. Like having that real-time component to a uh, speed turn-based uh, combat is super unique.
Hmm.
Also, using
Yeah.
both joysticks to control individual characters at the same time at all time is very cool.
Hmm. Um, Kelly was attracted to it initially just because, um, like the art style like really appealed to her. But then when she saw the combat, I think she dropped it in like 10 minutes. She was like, "No, I want to slash something like Shovel Knight or
Yeah,
uh
turn-based combat isn't for everybody, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah." She's more like Castlevania, Shovel Knight, Hollow
Mhm.
Knight type of type of person. Um, waiting to take your turn to attack does not compute with her at all. Christy has car trouble.
No, car trouble sucks.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a dead battery.
What clicks when she's trying to start it?
Yeah, if it doesn't turn over at all, then it usually just means you have a dead battery.
Yeah,
Poor Christy. I so wanted to talk about Harry Potter.
it's so good.
I
I was trying to
know.
see if I could find if there was like a specific name for its combat style.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let's see. Gameplay, side scroller, role playing, active time battle system.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is a turn based, but where it's still uh like adjustable speeds
Mhm.
that's readily visible to the player as opposed to like a hidden speed number
Mhm.
where like, oh,
Hmm.
my speed is 80, but because you don't see the bar, you can't like see how that interacts with other characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't
Active
think I've played a
time
game like
battle.
that. You know what game had a very innovative um combat solution was Parasite Eve and Parasite Eve 2 for like PlayStation 1. I remember
Wait,
playing Parasite
which game?
Eve Parasite Eve 1 and 2 for PlayStation 1.
Never heard of it.
Oh, really? It was made by
Oh.
Square Enix.
Yeah, because I went from Nintendo 64 to Xbox, so I missed like all of PlayStation 1 through 3. Like I had
Oh,
friends that had the
no.
system, but I never, so like early Final Fantasies, like all that stuff, like I just
Mhm.
never interacted with.
Oh,
Like I saw
man.
my friends play Resident Evil and saw my friends
Yeah.
play Silent Hill and stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
never played them myself.
Oh, no. Thomas.
I
You
know, and
killed
like
me.
not that I like went without, I was playing games. I was playing Perfect Dark and
Yeah.
Halo and all that stuff, but I was limited in my exposure to video games.
Oh, I feel like that's kind of a crime because early PlayStation had such crazy games.
What's worse is like I would go over to my friend's house and they'd be like, "Oh, this game's awesome. You should try it." But like would never really give me the chance to. And I
Oh
remember my friend
no.
Chris one time being like, "Okay, you have to play Final Fantasy VII." So I started it.
Yeah.
And like very quickly he was like, "Let me show you something." And I was like, "Okay," and then gave the controller and then he just played it. Like, okay.
What a jerk.
But it's fine because I was more like into like drawing and other things at the time. So like I would take like inspiration from like the characters and stuff. It's not like I was just sitting there silently watching them. We were
Yeah.
interacting in our own way. I didn't ask for the controller back.
Yeah. Hmm. You're you're a very creative person. So you draw, you you did singing, maybe some dance. I'm not sure. You like role
Choreography,
playing.
we'll call it choreography.
Yeah. Um, you pretty much like all the different creative arts, it seems like.
And then my parents were all like, oh, "He's gay? No,
Ah,
no."
ah. Um, it's I think it's kind of hard to find creative people like that. Like, what percentage of the population would you say would be creative like you?
It's a hard question to answer. Um,
I would say I would say less than 10% are
that's
like
what I was
creative
thinking.
people.
Like less than 10, like are actually like
Yeah,
creative, like hands-on, like want to like make things or conceptualize things.
yeah, yeah. I,
I think that's kind of
mhm.
growing somewhat because like definitely like niche interest is absolutely booming. uh
Yeah,
whereas like 10 years ago like nobody knew about Dungeons and Dragons. Like it was
yeah,
like known
yeah.
as like that thing like the weird kids in high school did, and now it's like
Hmm.
almost hip to be into like
Yeah,
really niche interests of things, like very specific types of anime or entertainment. But even though that's
yeah,
becoming mainstream, I don't necessarily think that means more people are being creative.
yeah. I think I think I feel like it has a genetic component to it. Um,
I think so too. My dad is like a very talented artist, and my mom's a very talented
oh
musician.
yeah, yeah. Hey Christy, are you okay? Oh, I don't think she's
Wait, did
okay.
it freeze? Oh,
Hello?
can you hear me?
We can
I can
hear
hear
you.
you.
I think it keeps freezing. Oops.
It does.
Oh, oh.
It was very like uh it's right, like still life. People aren't
Hmm.
still life.
Still life.
Photographic. You were like looking to the side and it was like sunlight.
He was like, oh,
I always get like frozen and my mouth's like open and like you can see right up my nose. Exactly. And I got my like
the
the
best shot.
I I'm driving now though. The car finally started.
nice. I'm so
Oh,
sorry you're having car trouble. I hate car
yeah.
trouble.
It's been so this is Bo's car that I'm in, and for like the past month or so, it's had like some weird power issues. Like not the battery. The battery is fine.
Hmm.
In fact, it's only like
Hmm.
I think the battery is only like maybe 2 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and Bo had like sort of figured out at least where it was coming from, but we hadn't gotten it fixed yet. So, but for the past
Hmm.
couple of weeks, it's been starting totally fine.
Hmm.
So anyway, I get in and like it lights up and then it just immediately goes dead. It doesn't do the clicking that it would do if
Hmm.
the battery was dead.
Hmm.
So I had to call Bo, and basically, apparently, one of the connections in the battery has like a short.
Hmm.
So
Oh, that'll do it.
yeah. So I had to open
Ooh.
the hood and like wiggle the cable.
Mm-hmm.
Although Bo didn't know which one, so I had to like I did the red one. That didn't do it.
Sparks, sparks, sparks.
Yeah, then I was also like, I don't want to die either. But it's the yellow connection. But I had to do it twice because like everything lit up and then it died again when I tried to start it.
Oh, geez.
Anyway,
I remember when I first had to interact with the battery on the Dodge, my uncle was like, yeah, sometimes if you reset like the battery, the AC will start working because there's an electrical like computer component that's messed up on it, which is why it's not fixed yet because it's its model is just a bitch and it's hard to find that component. And it's like, do I really want to go pay $1,500 for this crappy car I hate to get something that might fix the problem? I'm going to run until it dies. Like,
Right into the ground.
but I went to try it and I was like, let me try disconnecting this battery and seeing, and I open it up and it doesn't have just the like, you know, the bolts with like the onset positive and negative. It's got this
Yeah.
weird positive like terminal on top of it with fuses and shit, and it's like
What?
screwed into it. And I was like, what the fuck is so much?
You have like a steampunk car?
I gotta take a picture of it. It's wild. Now it's like a
What?
standard battery type, but it's like
Yeah.
here's your standard battery type. And there's this other option that nobody uses anymore because it's garbage.
What?
Like that's the one the Dodge Dart got. Like,
Oh no. Oh
I was so
gosh.
mad. I was like, oh yeah, let me just disconnect this battery. I'm a bro. I know how to. And I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck? Like this could be a creature in D&D. Like what am I looking at right now?
Oh my gosh. I kind of want to see it now. I'm curious.
I'll take a picture. It's garbage. You'll look at it and be like, what is that?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
my God.
I don't even know if I can research it effectively. Let's see. Tomorrow.
As long as I didn't, I'll be good.
I feel like that's sufficient to search this nonsense. Nope, these are all normal.
I want to say I should have seen the fact that Rita Skeeter can turn into a bug. I should have seen that coming.
It's so well foreshadowed. Like she foreshadows everything so well, and then it happens, and you're like,
I was like, how did I not make that connection?
What specifically are you talking about?
Oh, the reporter in, I think is it the fourth book? Is she in the fourth book?
yeah, she's reporting on the Triwizard tournament.
And she keeps getting information to put in the paper, and no one can figure out how she's getting the information. And then they're like, "Oh, she bugged us." And they're like, "Oh, but you know, Muggle technology doesn't work inside of Hogwarts." And they're like, "No, you don't understand. She literally turned into a bug, and that's how she was able to get all this information." Um, and then you think about the name Rita Skeeter, kind of like it brings to my mind at least like a mosquito almost. So I was like, ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
And I love that Hermione figures it out.
Like, of course, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I love the evolution of Hermione as the series goes on. She's willing to go against the rules more and more and go against the grain. And she's just like, whatever. I don't care if I, get good grades. Let's do this,
Yeah.
Yeah, she becomes like a smart ninja.
Yeah.
Chrissy, you're driving, so you might not be able to see this. This isn't the exact one. The one I have is worse because there's a fuse on it, and you can clearly see where it's connected to the terminal, and you cannot see that in mine. But it's very similar to
God.
This. It's like that, but worse. It put a fuse on it.
I am out of light, so I can take a look.
What
That's
the?
terrible.
I hate it. I can't even find the nonsense that's in my car on here.
You know what?
Maybe Dodge Star Petty.
You think of it looks like printer cartridges, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
I should load up some inks in my fucking car.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is more like what I actually have.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so when that battery dies, we're just gonna go full fucking Office Space on this.
Yeah. That'd be so frustrating.
I could
My
trade
God.
it in, or I could bring it to a forest and beat the crap out of it. And that's what I want to do.
Maybe Bo could be our driver and he could enter it into 24 hours of lemons.
Yes.
I'd love for it to have some type of like unforgettable, unfortunate fate. Like that
Yeah.
will make the purchase of it worth it in my head.
If Bo knows how to make a roll cage, we might be able to make our dream come true.
Make
I've
one.
always wanted to set one on fire, like a car.
I know he would like to learn how to weld though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But he definitely can't make one. At least
Mm,
not until he knows how to weld.
not yet.
If he needs a Dodge Dart to practice on, I got him. He can weld spikes to the dart.
Heck yeah.
I don't know if cars are made of metal anymore, so I don't know if that's relevant.
Not, not all metal, at least.
Mm-mm.
The idea of it having like random like pipes and like poles just like like metal glued to it all over. I like it.
It's very safe.
The fifth book, um, I felt like especially that final battle was pretty different from the movie. Um, they go to the ministry and there's like this room that they enter with all these like living brains, and one of them gets like thrown on Ron and like uh starts to like meld with him. Um Neville Neville I think gets punched in the face and it like breaks his nose and he can't talk correctly for the rest of the book, and I felt so bad for Neville. I'm like, "Oh geez." Cuz then he can't cast spells cuz every time he tries to say a spell it just comes out like all messed up. Um Hermione, I think Hermione just passes out um after some sort of attack. But and you guys don't have to tell me, but it definitely feels like the way that Sirius died, she's hinting at something because he doesn't just die in like a heroic way, like getting a sword run through him or something like this.
Yeah, Nevada
She
Cadaver Curse.
Yeah, she made a very she made an effort to explain that I think he passes through that archway as he dies, which I have to assume is foreshadowing for something. Um, Maybe he comes back and that archway somehow factors in, which would be awesome. But I also feel like the death of Sirius is kind of like foreshadowing that Dumbledore's gonna die. Because if you look at the track record, anyone close to Harry, like related to him, dies. So his parents die, and then Sirius, who his godfather, dies, and then in my mind, the next closest person to him would be his mentor, Dumbledore. So I feel like she's foreshadowing that, just because I like. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I mean Harry's entire life is riddled with that tragedy.
Right.
Right, right.
Yeah, you
So
everybody. everybody close to him that is like a some mentor type figure does die. Because I mean, you don't have, obviously he's close with Ron and Hermione, right? But I wouldn't necessarily like they're peers, not mentors.
Yeah, they're not gonna die. They're not gonna die. They're gonna live.
Like just because they're friends, they're like peers or
Yeah,
friends. They're like invincible
yeah,
to kill. But you know what I mean? It
yeah.
does very much seem like anybody who would be a mentor or a father figure
Mhm,
or
mhm.
some sort of parent type figure ends up just dying and leaving him.
That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like to me. So I feel like she's foreshadowing that, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it feels. So, um,
Have you
she
watched
better.
up to the fifth movie? Just wondering if you've caught
Yes,
up.
yes,
Okay, awesome. Fifth movie's so good.
yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
agree that the battle in the book is much more interesting than the way it works in the movie. And I kind of get it. Like, it's
Yeah,
mhm,
hard for them to focus on certain things, and like running through the ministry and seeing all these crazy magical things that they don't understand doesn't
yeah,
really fit well in the movie because like they don't have time to explain it.
mhm,
But yeah, in the book, that's all the stuff that really stood out to me, like the um big grandfather clock that they destroy that
mm,
holds all of the time turners. Like in the
mhm,
book, like that's so cool to me. Like the way it kept breaking and like reforming,
yeah.
and the guy that
Oh
like falls
yeah,
into it that like becomes a baby and
yeah.
then becomes a person, like an adult
Oh
again.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot about. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
yeah. There's
Uh,
like this, like I think they describe it almost like a fishbowl that goes over his head, so it turns like only his head into like a baby's head, which I
oh
thought,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, which to me was like very fascinating. Um, they took all that out of the movie though, so if you don't read the book, you miss out on all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you do get that awesome Ralph Fiennes versus Michael Gambon wizard fight with Dumbledore
Hmm.
and Voldemort, which is awesome. Like I love seeing adults use magic in the world because it's so mysterious. They're not shouting spells or anything because like
Yeah.
they're
Right.
doing it all in their head to try to get one up on each other.
Mm.
Um, and I just think that's really cool to see them doing those complex things. And you're like, I don't know what they're doing, but
Oh,
like it's cool looking.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's funny because if I remember correctly, I think Christy said the Triwizard Tournament book and movie are her least favorite out of the whole series. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Goblet of Fire is, I think, my least favorite for both.
I read that the director for the Goblet of Fire apparently never even read the source material.
Oh,
Huh.
dang.
Yep.
That's
So,
disappointing. Did
Huh.
yeah.
a surprisingly good job not
Yeah,
having done that now that I consider that.
I would say so. It's not that I don't. I I like all of them, but if I'm ordering my favorites, both of
Mhm.
them in both formats are going to be last for me. But I'm still going to read
Mhm.
them. Still going to watch um, the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they're definitely not bad. That's for sure. And they're
Mhm.
still definitely very good. They're just my least favorites. I think
Mm.
at least from the book side of things, I think the reason the fifth one is my least. Wait, is that five or four? That's
Four
four.
for Goblet of Fire. Yeah.
Four.
Unless I'm misremembering. But I think the reason four is my least favorite is because Harry gets really, really whiny and angsty,
Yeah.
like extra angsty and whiny, and I think
Yeah.
grates on me. So I think that's part of it, at least.
Yeah.
Like he finds out he has this guardian in Sirius Black, and then he's like no longer okay with suffering anymore because he knows he has family that he could be with, but he
Yeah.
can't. So now he feels victimized again. So he's got a bitch the whole
Yeah.
time.
Like, it's not that it's totally justified, but you know, I mean, you want to write it accurately. He's not like he's not a piece of stone who doesn't feel anything,
Hmm.
but at the same time, he does get very angsty.
Hmm.
One thing I think about a lot, and it's one of those things that like keeps me up at night, is like you fall in love with Alastair Moody. Like his character is so great and funny and wild and out there. And then you realize that it was never him the whole time. So all of your shape of this character is built on a lie. And they just kind of don't talk about it. And like he
Yeah.
is that character, like he portrayed him very well. And people in the
Hmm.
book even talk about how they're like, I've known him for years, like didn't have a clue, like well done. So I'm like, man, I love this character, but it wasn't him. Like that's
Hmm.
hard to like get together in my head. Yeah, it's just one of those things I think about all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. That's a good point because, and I feel like if she kind of wrote him from the perspective of like he's not quite mimicking him right, then that would kind of be a giveaway to the big reveal in the end. So I feel like that's why she kind of, you know, glazed over that.
And let's all not forget this.
Uh,
You look at it go.
I already know.
oh my God. The
Tennant,
fourth,
put your tongue away, David Tennant. Stop doing
gross.
that.
Yes, it's so creepy, but I love that it's David Tennant.
I didn't know who he was before that, and now that I'm like starting to watch Doctor Who, and it's like very slowly starting to watch Doctor Who, but I know I'm going to get to him eventually. Like I'm so excited.
Hmm. Hmm. I know what you guys were memeing about now. In the fourth movie, Harry's hair is just completely
The
out of control.
shame.
So
So bad.
bad.
Relatable
And
though,
then,
because like that was eighth grade for me. Like me in eighth grade was like, I want to grow my hair long. My mom's like, you're not doing what you're supposed to, so I don't want to let you grow your hair long. And I'm like, but I'm
yeah.
depressed and a kid, and I have to look like this and wear the same hoodie every day. I know it smells. Like,
Oh, oh no. That, I guess at the time that kind of was the fashion.
yeah, like I don't want to agree, but you're right.
Yeah.
I had to go to a different page so David Tennant stops doing that.
Gross.
I look over and he's like,
Uh, um, I'm on I'm on the sixth book, and I suspect we lost Christy, but I guess we'll keep going. Um, she looks so happy.
she does though. Yeah, Frozen a very happy look.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah.
no. It's the battery terminals that just destroyed
Oh
the
God.
connection.
I hope not. That'd be so bad. Um, what was I gonna say?
Saying where you're at
Oh,
in the sixth book?
yeah. So in the sixth book, I'm 10% through it, and they introduce Horace Slughorn for the first time. And I
Love
feel
that guy.
like, yeah, okay. So let me ask you. I kind of feel like at this point in writing the series, JK Rowling was like, all right, we have these four houses, but at this point, I'm making the Slytherins almost too evil to the point where it's unbelievable. So I'm going to sneak in this character that has some questionable viewpoints. And, he's all about power and cunning, which is part of being Slytherin. But it kind of feels like at that point she's like, I can't make every Slytherin completely evil because that's not realistic.
I think so too, but I also think that works in the world too, because I bet like in the character, Dumbledore's probably having the same thought. Like, I need to get somebody
Mm.
in to represent Slytherin well during these really dark times.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. But I can like see a reason why it happened in universe. But yeah,
that's
I
true.
love Horace Slughorn. Like, he doesn't have very many redeeming like
Yeah.
qualities uh besides being an excellent potions teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love his character. Also, the casting for it is incredible.
Oh,
um
really?
do you ever see Moulin Rouge?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm back.
Hello again.
Welcome back.
All
we're
right.
talking we're talking about how
My
much we love Horace Slughorn.
wait, oh yes, I love him. Sorry, my phone overheated. So,
Oh no. Jeez. That's not good.
so I had to cool it down before I could return. Anyway,
Hmm.
Horace Slughorn is hilarious. Um, I don't know. He's a funny character for sure.
Hmm.
Just like a weird character.
Yeah.
I always loved.
Casting for him, just love this guy.
Oh, the casting is great. I always loved the part where he is like a chair.
Hmm.
Kind of like at the beginning of the book 6.
Yeah, I think that's
Oh,
the like his introduction.
Yes. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
I thought I thought he would be fatter.
They
That's
kind of like
true.
pudged the character up a little bit for the movie. But yeah, like they didn't pick like as tubby a person as he's represented as in the book.
Mm, mm, hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's a picture of him in the
Mm. Oh, okay.
but I love that actor. He was Zidler in Moulin Rouge, who like ran the circus. It's one of
Hmm.
my favorite movies.
Such a
Let's see, sixth book. Um,
Snape is evil. It really
yeah, Snape is up to no good, isn't he?
it
He's such a
starts with
naughty
such
boy.
a it's like two I think two female Death Eaters operate in, and then they kill a fox or something that just was very cruel and just for no reason, and then they knock on a door, and then Snape lets them in, and he's like just like, yes, everything's going to plan, this is excellent, and I was like, this makes sense, you douche.
This is like the. I mean, for the whole time up until this point, basically, we're not really sure where his loyalties really lie, but we know that he doesn't like Harry and that he's an asshole to
Yeah,
Harry.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like basically the first time where we actually see like a side, right? Or that he's even
Hmm.
a character, right?
yeah. I think it's the first time you see him like interact with Death Eaters or like do anything that's officially like that's not good what you're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually bad. Yeah. Not just an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a bit of a red herring in the first book, where like you think he's
Yeah.
cursing Harry's broom during that Quidditch match, and then you find
Yeah.
out that it's Professor Quirrell. Like,
Hmm.
So this whole time we're not. He is bad though.
It it raises some questions though, because he was part of the Order of the Phoenix, which met at Grimmauld Place. So with everyone that's on Dumbledore's side right there. Well, actually, maybe they do explain that, I think. Hmm. I think they do explain that, like why he didn't just bring all of the Death Eaters right into their, you know, hideout to basically ambush them. But I forgot the explanation.
I think it's because the Grimmauld place is keyed, and I think Dumbledore had the key in the sense that like
Oh,
only
wait,
people Dumbledore allowed into it
yeah, yeah.
um were
Something
allowed
about
to like interact with it without
yeah,
like overwhelming magical powers. So just like
yeah.
wasn't worth the investment.
Something about like a knowing spell or something like that, where no one else could know it, or something to that effect. Hmm.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Like it was a spell specific to like only give Dumbledore like the access to like know its exact location in a way that's interactable. Another
Yeah.
example of like one of those cool complex spells that we really don't get to like dive into, like we just see
Hmm.
hinted at.
Yeah. Probably something similar is cast on the 11 different magic schools, question mark. So they
Probably.
can't be found.
I feel like otherwise people would happen upon them a lot more.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, Especially like the one in the U.S., which is in Boston, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Which
'Cause-
that's the middle of a large city. So how do you not have to
Right, right,
could make a case for Hogwarts because it's out like in the English countryside and some of
right.
it is pretty inhabitable and not safe to just trek alone.
Hmm.
Unless you like really really know what you're doing. So I suppose you could make a case for it that way, but even then, like the UK is not a very big country, so yeah,
True.
that would make sense. Same
I
kind.
feel like the magical school in America was like in Salem for some reason.
Maybe it was. I don't remember. I just it might be, which would kind of make a little more sense, right? Wait, well, but I mean, Salem is probably not far from Boston, right? I don't know. I have no clue.
Great question.
I'm consulting the internets.
I'm trying to as well because I'm curious where it's located now.
God, I just had the weirdest feedback through my headphones. That was so strange. It went me, but like all electronic and evil sounding.
But even so, like the Northeast is so um dense
Yeah.
that even if it wasn't in like the middle of Boston and it's instead in Salem, um, Northeast is so
Oh
dense,
wait.
it still feels impossible to not happen upon something like that and then just like discover this
Yeah.
without it being hidden behind some crazy complicated spell.
Yeah.
Let's see. Apparently, it's Mount Greylock in Massachusetts is where it's supposed to be,
So
which is
yeah.
an
So
actual mountain in Massachusetts.
huh.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Christy was right. Yeah. I'm trying to think where it's Salem from.
I mean, it
I
fits.
mean,
Like,
Huh.
it makes sense. Salem is known for its
Yeah.
witchcraft, I suppose. That's
Ilvermorny, which is a fun name.
Yeah. I wish I wish she had gone beyond 7 books and like explored the other magical schools because they kind of just hint at it. You know, some schools will are more comfortable at teaching the dark arts, um, and they have like a different style of teaching. So if she really dived into all those different schools, man, that would have been so cool.
Man, a little kid part
Yeah,
of me hopes that she still like does something.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely too.
Yeah, I would like something more adult too that like follows adult characters.
when she when she writes, and maybe Christy can kind of speak to this, when she writes the Cormoran Strike books, it's like she changes her whole writing style. It's to me it's very different.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe. Well, okay, other than the fact that in Harry Potter you're following kids, um, in the Corman Strike novels, it's clearly not children.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
than that part, I don't really know how to describe it, but it is a different writing style. And if you've also read, which I think the Corbin Strike novels are technically Robert Galbraith. Wait,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes. But if you've read The Casual Vacancy, which was her first book under JK Rowling after Harry Potter, it's
Hmm.
also totally different. It's not. It feels like a also.
Oh,
I
Um,
can't remember.
really?
Did you say you had read that and that you didn't like it? I
yes.
can't. Okay.
I
Hmm.
did not enjoy it, and I actually remember when it was first published, and the reviews on it were like very mixed. And I think
Hmm.
probably the sense that I got that it was mostly people didn't enjoy it, but I still
Mm.
wanted to read it anyway. It just
Hmm.
took me several years to actually get to that point. Um, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
Hmm.
But I can't not finish a book, so I finished it, but I didn't enjoy
Hmm.
like I didn't enjoy any part of it.
Hmm.
I think I didn't like any of the characters. To me, all of them were really hard to relate to. And so I just didn't like them.
Hmm.
Uh, and none of them were really all that redeemable either, I feel like.
Hmm.
It just sort of it ended and it was really depressing. So,
Oh.
yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
Hmm. And that's not part of the Cormoran Strike series, though.
No, that's just it's a standalone novel.
Mm.
And that one's under JK Rowling.
Oh, okay.
It's under Robert Galbraith. Yeah.
Oh, I was reading the fourth Strike book, and I was actually surprised because she really knows how to introduce romantic elements where you care about
Yeah.
the romance, which I didn't anticipate, but I was just like, um, you get to that fourth book and you're like, you gotta drop this guy, even though it's your wedding and you need to get with Strike, and he's so much cooler and
Yeah.
confident, even though he's all beat up. And like, I was really rooting for Strike. I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
just run out of your own wedding. Like, just drop this nerd loser. And I was surprised because I feel like if there is any romance in Harry Potter, it's definitely not the focal point. And at no point was I like, oh wow, I'm really involved in this romance in Harry Potter. So that to
Yeah,
me
you
was a real,
almost wish it would stop.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. I always remember wishing to stop in Harry Potter. And I don't I guess it's just because it's like it's kids. So like
yeah.
you can't like it
they
feels
they
weird.
suck at
Like, it,
it.
They're the worst.
it feels odd to like make to want to make it go further because they're children and
Right.
it feels weird and right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
there's
At
something
this
there were some
point,
inherently
decent things
icky
about
about it. Yeah.
yeah. When
it.
Harry,
Even in the
oh,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I
No, no,
was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say, when it didn't work out between Harry and Cho, I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah,
Like they, yeah,
I was actually kind of just glad that it didn't
yeah,
work because
yeah.
like good, it's on to something else because I don't
Mhm,
like this.
mhm. Exactly.
Um, I definitely had the same feelings as you though with the Corman Strike novels, where you're just like rooting for Corman Strike. Even with the first book,
Mhm,
I think there's sort of like hints at she sort of plants in there that um the relationship between her and her fiance is like
mhm,
maybe not the greatest, but
mm.
there's also maybe small little feelings or hints that like maybe she's interested in Cormoran, but not in like in any real way. So I
Yeah,
definitely, at least with the book, wasn't rooting for him, but I do remember thinking very strongly like I don't know what happens after this first book, but she's got to drop her fiance because
yeah, yeah,
he's got all over the place. I do not like this guy. He's a jerk. He's like,
yeah.
yeah,
It was such a weird experience for me because I've never picked up a romance novel ever. And I don't even think I've read any books with like that romance element that I could think of. So when it popped up and I felt myself getting invested in it, it was a very weird and new experience for me.
That's fun. That's awesome.
I'm like, am I turning
yep,
into like a, you know, mid-40s like housewife that gets, kicks from living vicariously through these people? It was wild.
yeah. I definitely I don't enjoy outright romance novels.
Mhm.
Um, but the book has a romantic like side story or element to it, I'm
Mhm.
fine with it. But I don't want
Mm.
to like I pick up a
That
book
to
and
be
be
the
like,
main
this
focus.
is a
Yeah.
romance
Yeah.
novel. Like I'm not gonna read it if the way you describe like the whole story is about the romance, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna read it.
It it kind of it messed with my head because I was like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, I have to be more like Strike. Like I have
Unless it's
to
this.
emulate him. He's so cool. Like I want to be more like this fictional character, you know? And I'm like, oh, this is wild. Yeah.
All right, it's
Unless it's that.
I know. Okay, I was about to say it's funny. I just said all of that, and yet I read and loved Twilight. And
I
that's
would have like explained myself exactly the same. Like I don't want to read something that's just a romance. And I thought back and I was like, I did read Twilight. I was super invested.
but to be fair though, when I first heard about Twilight, I I feel like if you read the synopsis on like the first book, it doesn't talk about like you know what I mean? It doesn't like put forward this romance. It's
Yeah.
just like they're
Yeah.
Oh, it's
vampires
yeah, it's like an interesting vampire
all
book. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
like okay, cool. And then of course it like does really it just very much does just turn into the whole romance, and then it turns into Bella and Edward and Jacob and that whole thing, and then of course you know by that like after book one I'm invested, so I'm not gonna not read the other ones, and I enjoyed all of them,
I love that.
The guilty
but
pleasure. Sorry, I dug it up. There
I'm
you
not
go.
gonna
Through
pick
the lips.
like this is a romance novel and there's not much else to it.
And I remember so I remember looking for fantasy novels when I was younger, and a friend of mine gave me a book, and he's like, "It's like way far in the series, but it's wild, man." And I was like, "Okay," and I read it, and I don't know if y'all have heard of the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter
Oh yeah.
series.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, it's like tawdry, like sex
Oh.
all over the place.
Oh,
Um, and the main character is a necromancer vampire hunter, and she ends up becoming like this horror goddess.
what?
Lack of better words. But
That's the next series.
I haven't read any in the past few years, so there's probably like 12 more books. Uh, But I read a lot of them. I was way too invested.
Jeremy,
Exactly.
did you show Jeremy? I mean, did you show Thomas? What was it? Your cousin or?
Milking the Minotaur that my cousin sent me as a
I
joke.
It sounds terrible and
I'll
wonderful. I
text
need
it
to
to
see
you.
it.
I'll
Okay,
text it
cool.
to you.
It's a joke.
Milking the Minotaur.
What
I
did
sent
you
him.
read? And he was like, "Oh, if you like that, I recommend this."
Yeah. To get him back, I sent him something called Taken by the Orc King.
Oh no.
I'm already scared. I don't need to know
Yeah.
anymore. But I need to know it.
Not everyone was rooting against the bad guys in Lord of the Rings.
Oh no.
Oh no. So much
That's
worse.
worse.
Yeah.
Those orc faces haunt my dreams. Those are some serious things. And I'm trying to find the pictures. Misha was making a character back in the day, and she like had like a fairy creature that was supposed to like talk to her in dreams, and we ended up like trying to make it into like this creepy, sexy centaur thing. So I found all these creepy centaur pictures. I can't find them
nice.
though.
I think Christy has to go now.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Oh, did he send it to you?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
I also, I think my favorite part
What is this?
the USA Today best-selling author or something. They're like, okay, all right.
A monster bait romance. Like
And
that's a
that-
thing, and there's other things that are called that. I like his weird tuft of red chest hair. Thanks, Jeremy. I'm gonna treasure this.
Please
They-
do.
yeah.
Please do.
for giving me the exact link so I can buy it.
Are we gonna read that together? Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Chapter
I
one,
just-
and like, oh my god.
All right. Is it time, friends?
This time, yeah, Christy mentioned she wanted to go on a walk when she got home, and I don't want to get in the way of that.
Before it gets
They're
dark.
free.
Yeah.
I'm just
Bye.
so excited. Longer days now.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah.
Enjoy the sunlight. Bye, friends.
Enjoy the
I will.
sunlight.